we can heal. If we know what divides us, we can unite. We gather here today in all our diversity to launch a national dialogue. We are embarking on a process that will launch 1 million conversations amongst our people. Now, this is a great honor to be able to instigate conversations amongst our people. All of us seated here must see ourselves as being truly honored that today we get to sit here and we are launching a process that will involve conversations of millions of people, 10 million people. But in the end, I see this conversation going way beyond the 10 million people who might participate. It will encompass many more millions of people in our country. This is truly a historic moment. Across the length and the breadth of South Africa, people will and must meet to talk of what worries them, what gives them hope, and how they think their lives and our country can be better. We all agree that our country is not where it ought to be. We all agree that there are many things that are broken in our country. Getting together, talking to each other, we should be able to find solutions on how we can put many of the things that are broken in our country together. This initiative is about what all South Africans must do together to make our lives and our country better. It is also about getting leaders to be able to realize what worries South Africans and how leaders themselves can be engaged in understanding the lives of South Africans and be accountable. And to look, yes, as my sisters were saying here, to look behind and see whether there are still people who are following them. Through this process, we want our people to meet in homes and community halls. We want them to meet in churches, in synagogues, in mosques and temples. Our people must meet in schools and lecture halls, in boardrooms and on the shop floor, on the pathways of our villages and the streets of our townships and our cities. We will meet online. We will be tech-savvy, as many South Africans are already tech-savvy, I found out during COVID. South Africans know technology. They are way ahead. They know technology. When we started distributing the 350, I tell you, it was through technology that they were able to immediately snap it. Even though they say, "Hi, Ramaphosa, we are Ochanda, Mahlale." They say they did it through technology. So we will meet online. We will call into radio stations. We will debate on television. Yes, there will be many television shows. We will share our views and make our suggestions without hesitation. And we will be direct and honest. We will need to have difficult conversations about many issues, including why do South African women have to live in fear of the men of our country? This is Women's Month, and I'm glad that these conversations should start this month. That we as the men of South Africa must begin to internalize this question. Why do the women of South Africa fear us as men in the streets? in the classrooms, and even in our homes, we need to ask ourselves those questions. We also need to ask ourselves, why do so many people live in abject poverty and so few live lives of opulence? Why, after decades of democracy, are the prospects of a white child so much better than those of a black child? We need to ask ourselves that. We also need to ask ourselves, why do women get paid less than men for the same work? That's what we need to ask ourselves. Now, we also must go deeper and ask ourselves, why, when we have a Bill of Rights in our Constitution, are the LGBTQI+ people still discriminated against? Why are they still stigmatized and harassed? Why do clinics run out of medicine? Are questions that we must ask ourselves. And why do taps run dry? These are some of the questions that we must be willing to ask and which we must be prepared to find answers for. But more than that, my fellow South Africans, these are the challenges that we must be ready to do something about. As individuals, as organizations, as communities, as parents, as elected representatives, and as public officials. The national dialogue is a call to debate and to discuss. But it is also much more than that. More importantly, the national dialogue is a call to action. It is a call to all South Africans to seize this moment for change and progress. And this we cannot do when we are sitting on the sidelines. This we cannot do when we do not want to be part of this conversation. And this we cannot do when we sit on the sidelines and just criticize. We need to be inside the tent rather than being outside of the tent. And we also need to have one tent. We do not need another tent where other conversations will take place. This is the real tent where conversation must take place. Now, it is a call to build a society in which there is a place for everyone, where the country's wealth is shared by all. A South Africa that truly belongs to all the people who live in it. We have come together in this national convention not to have the dialogue, but to start the dialogue. Gathered here, all of us together, we are well over 1,200 or 300 across many organizations and sectors. Our task is to prepare for the thousands of public dialogues that will happen in communities across the country over the next 6 to 8 months. We are here to consider some of the themes that may arise in those discussions, understanding that it is ultimately the people of this country that will determine the issues that should be discussed. And this is what we call citizen-centered dialogues and discussions. We are here to reflect on how we should approach these public dialogues, what methods we should use to ensure that everyone has a say and that the discussions take place in an environment that promotes understanding and that encourages healing. Through this convention, we seek to equip delegates to be champions and enablers of these public dialogues may seek to ensure that we give the space to South Africans to define the outcome of the national dialogue process.